Hey guys, welcome back. Sahil here. In this video, I'm going to show you how I am automating my sales deck creation process using OpenAI, Make, and Google Slides. The workflow will get a bit involved, so I highly recommend you sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. All right, so as always, we are going to start in the Miro board. And before I get into the technical details, I just want to walk you through the thought process behind automating this part of the sales process. This is in my typical sort of sales cycle. So someone comes in through an email or through my website. I send them a response. Then we schedule a call. We get on a discovery call, and then I take the notes back from discovery call and prepare a deck for them. Once the deck is prepared, I schedule a follow-up call. And then after the follow-up call, after I have presented the deck, I send that deck to them in the email. So it's quite a few steps. And as I've been trying to grow my business, I've been carefully examining every single step that I have to do manually and what parts of it I can automate. So in a previous video, I've already shown you how I automatically send a response to the incoming leads so that they can schedule a call. So this initial part of the workflow is already automated. So let's just draw a box around that, right? So this part, to almost 80% of it is automated. Sometimes I just have to review the email that is being sent back to them. But for the most part, from incoming lead to response to scheduling the call part is all done by the client or my AI systems. So let's just give it a color and move that to back. There we go. And then what we are left with is the discovery call and the follow-up call. So these two cannot be automated because I still have to get on the call until I clone myself into an AI bot. But these parts still have to be done live, right? So we're just going to highlight them in purple, or actually let me highlight them in green to show that these stay manual. We are going to get on the calls. So then we are just left with preparing the deck. And it did used to take me quite a bit of time to prepare this. It occurred to me that why not automate this part as well, so that at least between the discovery call and the follow-up call, there's a minimum amount of time and I can quickly send the deck, present and send the deck to my leads and close them quickly. How do we do that? What I noticed was that initially my decks used to be all over the place. Every time I was creating a new deck and using different fonts, different templates. So that was early days, but then eventually I got disciplined and I created a template for myself that I use every time to prepare a new deck with some minor modifications, of course, the details, the price and stuff like that. And then as time progressed, I got a couple of versions of these decks, and sometimes I use version A, sometimes I use version B, but for the most part, they're templated. So then I looked into, and I use Google Slides for preparing my deck. So then I looked into Make and I noticed that it does have a Google Slides module. So I started experimenting, and then eventually I was able to figure out a way to, based on the information of the discovery call, prepare a deck for me automatically. And then of course I can review and modify as needed. That goes with all AI systems. You can, it helps you create your first draft. Sometimes it's great, sometimes you have to review it, and that's just the reality. Okay, so how does it work? The biggest piece of this is going to be so I'm just going to say Google Slides setup here. And yeah, so the biggest piece of this is going to be your template deck, right? So you need a template deck that you can use to create a deck every time for the client based on their requirements and based on the details of the discovery call. So we'll just go with one template deck for now. So you need the template deck, and this will stay in Google Slides. And that's pretty much it. In here, that's all you need. The only thing in the template deck is that there are going to be some variables that change per deck. That's the whole point. So it's a template, but it will contain some variables where the information is not yet known and will only be known after the discovery call. So that's the information that we are going to fill in using Make and OpenAI. And that's how our deck is going to get created. And then finally, once our template deck is ready to go, we can move over to the Make setup. And this is where things become fun. So first thing we need a way to get our discovery call information into Make, right? So let's copy that and move that over here. So we need a way to get our discovery call information into Make. And this is going to be the trigger for our scenario, right? So actually no color. So this is going to be the trigger. So let's just put a star on there. So this is the trigger. There we go. And once that information gets into Make, then basically we can take that information and send it over to as always, OpenAI, where we can do some processing and get, extract the critical information outside of the discovery call, and then use that to generate the information that is supposed to be filled in to these variables to create our deck. So actually what I'm going to do is to get the information into Make, we can use a form. You can also automate if you use something to record your calls. Typically, they have a webhook that you can automatically use to send the information into Make. For now, to keep things simple, I'm just going to use a fill out form. I love fill out, so why not use that? And then that fill out form submission will act as our trigger. Then OpenAI will kick in, and then we are going to call the Google Slides module with the information from OpenAI, and then finally we are going to generate the PDF. So those are the high level steps, but the Google Slides step, so let me just color that into white because I'm going to copy it. We are going to have multiple of them because we need to do several things with the Google Slides module. One of them is, for example, adding any images if we need. The other one is, for example, if you need to delete a slide or add a slide and stuff like that. So this one will be multiple steps, but everything else is going to be pretty much as I explained here. Okay, awesome. So with the game plan out of the way, we are ready to start building. So first things first, let me show you a template that I've prepared for this demo. So it's just called a template sales deck, very creative. And here what I have is, this is very similar to what I have for my own deck. Obviously it looks different, it has different colors, but for the sake of this demo, I created a simple deck. So typically I have a name of the project up front, then I add the company's name, and then I add a logo for the company. So what I like to do is I like to personalize it to the company. They feel that I have taken the time to personalize this and I'm not just selling them something cookie cutter. So I personalize this. I also have my own logo in here and stuff like that. Then I begin with a about us slide. I talk about myself, my background, all that good stuff. And then we pretty much get into the proposal. And then the proposal contains, okay, so based on the discovery call, I realized, so these are the top goals that we're trying to achieve. Just to reiterate that I was listening and I got the idea for what you're trying to build or automate. And then I typically split my project into phases. So we will have information about the phases that I'm proposing. And then we get into, I have different ways of how I work with clients. Sometimes it's a retainer, sometimes it's a fixed scope project. So based on the approach I am recommending to them, I will have a slide talking about that particular process. So if it's a retainer, how does that work? If it's a fixed scope project, how does that work? And stuff like that. So here I just added 2 slides. So one is called Coca-Cola and one is called Pepsi. So the reason I added 2 slides is to demonstrate that for the final deck, I only want to keep one of them. And in the form, we will select whether it's a Pepsi project or a Coca-Cola project. So we only keep one of them. And then finally, we have a project pricing. So typically I provide 3 options to my clients. Well, obviously the goal always is to sell a higher priced project, but I give them 3 options and tell them what's included, what's not included. So there should be a feature as well. So then the price also obviously depends on the project. So these are the variables. So the way the variables work is basically you have 2 opening curly braces and 2 closing curly braces, and then it's a single word in the middle. You cannot have spaces, then it doesn't work. So I just use this convention with underscores. So name of project is one of the variables that we are going to fill in using Make. And then the company name, then the image placeholder. This is where we are going to get our image. And then these are the goals, and then these are the project phases. So all of these are variables that we are going to generate using OpenAI. Okay, awesome. So let's get started. So let's go to fill out. And let me minimize this for now so we're not distracted. And I'm going to create a new fill out. And I'm going to call it blank. And let's just go with, since we're using the white background for everything today, let's use that. Create a form. And I will say discovery debrief. There we go. Continue. So the first thing I need is a short answer, which is going to be the company name. And I could automate it even further. Like I can take this information from my leads database because some of it is already known. So I don't have to be redundant, but for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to add everything here to keep it simple. So the first thing is name of the company. And then the second thing I need is a URL where I will inject a company logo. So I just add it here and then the template will take care of itself. So those are just the company details. And then I'm going to add a project overview section. And here I will add, so first thing we need is we'll use the long answer here. So what I'll do is explain the, what was that? Don't need that. I need an input. So text and long answer, there we go. So we'll say describe the high level goal of the project. And I could literally just paste in the transcript if I wanted, or just type it in. So it's up to me. So high level goal of the project. And then I will also add in some recommendation for how the phases should be created. So another long answer, suggested phases. So this is all input coming in from me. And then we will add one more, which is going to be called the pricing. So for that, I will add another section, heading 1, pricing and format, or something like that. So format, remember I have two options in my slide, Coca-Cola or Pepsi. So I'm going to select here which one I'm recommending for this client. So let's select how about we go with a drop down. So what's the project? What kind of project is it? Or what kind of implementation are you recommending? What kind of implementation approach is recommended? There we go. And then the two options are going to be either it's going to be Coca-Cola or it's going to be Pepsi. Of course, these are going to be your different formats that you have in the template. And then finally, for pricing, I will do another input. And does it have currency? Yeah, there we go. Do currency and option 1, and then duplicate option 2, and duplicate one more time, option 3. There we go. Okay, so that's all we need to get the deck created. And let's publish this. And we go back to, or not back to, we go to make and we create a new scenario. So remember, our trigger is going to be when we submit the fill out form. So that's exactly what we need to add and make. Say automated sales deck workflow. There we go. And the trigger is going to be fill out, and watch your responses. I'll create a new hook and call it sales deck YT demo, and select the form, which is going to be my discovery debrief. There we go. Save. Okay, so that's connected. So let's run this once to make sure that it is working as expected. I'm going to open the form in a new tab. And here I will say company name, let's say No Code University, and logo I'll just grab from my website address. Go back in here, project overview, automation of course creation and publishing, suggested phases. So I'll say discovery, implementation, testing, and support, maintenance, something like that. And then I'm selecting the Coca-Cola approach. Let's say the option 1 is $1,000, option 2 is $2,000, and option 3 is $3,000. Okay, so let's submit and go to make. And there we go. So our answers just came in. So got the company logo, got the high level goal, name of the company, phases, and did I get the, okay, there we go. So we have the option 1, 2, and 3, which is the value. It's weird how it formatted it, but we have everything that we need. Perfect. So now we can invoke OpenAI to go to step number 2, which if I remind you, so we got this working. So now we need to send this information to OpenAI so that we can get the data that we need for Google Slides. So actually, before I do that, let me just show you what the Google Slides module looks like. So we know what we are working towards. So I click on Google Slides, and here you have several options. You can list presentations, get a presentation, and then here's the interesting one, which says create a presentation from a template. And that's exactly the one we are after. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to use my personal account where I've saved my presentation. And it is going to ask me copy a presentation from dropdown, and I'm going to select the presentation here. So it's going to list them all, and I can just select the one. So template sales deck comes up front. So that's the one that we are using to create our new presentation. And as soon as I select that, it is able to list all of the variables from that template deck. So all of them are here. So if you remember, we had the name of the project, company name, image placeholder. If you look here, name of the project, company name, image placeholder, all the way till the end, which is price 1, 2, and 3. So this is the information that we need to provide to it so that it can create the deck. But before we can provide that information, we don't have all of it here. We just have high level information, for example, the description of the high level goals, but we need to format it so that it can be presented in bullet points like this and this. So let's go back here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a module here, which is going to be, of course, OpenAI. And here we will say create a completion, and my OpenAI account is already connected. And the model I'm going to use is 4o, of course, because that's the latest one. And for the messages, for the first one, I will say system, and the message content is going to be you are an awesome salesperson who closes the deals on the first go, and you create amazing slide decks to impress the client. Perfect. So that's the system. So now the OpenAI system knows how to operate. And the next one is going to be, the next message is going to be the user. So now this user is asking the system, who is an awesome salesperson, what to do. So here we will say, so here we will write our prompt. So I'm just going to type it out here. So based on the input provided for the project overview, which is going to be from our fill out form, and that is, where is it? Describe the high level goal of the project. So based on the provided project overview and the suggested phases, which is right here, please create the following and return in a JSON format. Actually, we will type that out later. So first we need is please create the following, number one, which is the project goals. Number one is project goals. And number two is the project phases. So we'll say 3 goals and 4 phases, and provide the output in the following. Oh, we need one more thing. So we also need project name based on description. Keep it short. There we go. And then provide the output in the following format as a JSON. So here we will say goals are, for goals we need 3 variables. First one is goal 1, second one is goal 2, and third is goal 3. So we'll say goal. What we can also do is we can ask it to provide it in an array. So we can say project goals, 3 goals, here, goals in an array, phases in an array. And this can be, we need 2 arrays. So for phases, we will say for phases, provide 2 arrays. The first one contains the titles, and second one contains the phase description in 1 line, short. Okay, so provide the output for goals in an array, phases in an array, and then name of the project is basically a string. Perfect. And then what we need to do is, so just saying that provide the output in the following format as a JSON doesn't work. What we have to do is we need to, well, first give it some tokens. So 1,000 tokens should be enough. And in the advanced settings, we need to tell it to provide that response as a JSON object. Okay, very good. So let's click on OK. And I'm going to unlink this for a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this once. And let's go back to fill out and go to results and click on the response that I already submitted. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on edit. So it opens the same form back, so I don't have to refill it. So I'll just add more color here. Automation of course creation and publishing. I also need a client portal or a student portal where they can access the courses or something like that. Okay, so let's submit it again. And let's see what happens in make. So there we go. So we got the input. Very good. And let's see what OpenAI came back with. Hey, if you're enjoying this tutorial, you might want to check out No Code University, where I have a ton of practical courses on similar topics, including Airtable and Zapier. You can learn everything you need to know to unlock high income opportunities in the no code and AI space. To get started, you can find the link in the description below. Now back to the video. So result. Okay, good. So we got the goals, 1, 2, 3. Phases, we got the titles, and then we also got the descriptions. Very good. And then we got the project name, which is just called course flow. Not bad, but not great, but it's okay. You know, we can improve the prompt, but we have the data that we need for now to proceed. Very good. So now I'm going to link these two. And in Google Slides, the title, I'm just going to make it company name. And, oh, that's weird. Why is it not showing me the, let me save this. Save anyway. And let's refresh. Okay, let's try again. And so this should be my Google Slides account. And then for the title, okay, there we go. So now I'm going to say the title of the slide deck is company name dash project name as suggested by OpenAI. Oh, so one thing we need to do before we can do this is we need to parse the JSON that is sent back from OpenAI. So we'll add the parse JSON and we will create a new one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the, oh, I lost that string. So it's okay. So we can create a new one. Actually, let me unlink this for a sec and run this again and resubmit that same form and remove this. So edit and submit. There we go. And go back to make. And there we go. So what I need is I need this result so I can create the JSON structure automatically. Very good. And now in the parse JSON, I will connect it to this and add a JSON structure. So this will be for sales deck. I'll just sales deck JSON demo. Okay, so generate. So what you can do is you can just provide the sample data which came back from OpenAI and it will automatically create the structure for me. There we go. So it got the goals array, it got the phases array and collection, which is basically an array here and then a description array here. And then finally we have the project name, which is just text. Perfect. So that's exactly what we need. And the string, so when this actually runs, we need to connect it to where this JSON is coming from that is supposed to parse. So that is the OpenAI result. So I inject that, click OK. And now when I go to Google Slides here, I can take the name of course, it doesn't know it yet because we haven't run it. So let's just run this module quickly and paste the same JSON. There we go. So now it knows how to deal with that. And let's see if it recognizes. Not yet. So let's save and refresh. Yeah, sometimes it takes a run through for it to recognize the output. Okay, there we go. So now finally we can take the name of the company which was coming in from the original submission dash and the name of the project as suggested by OpenAI. There we go. So that will be the slide title now. Very good. And then I think we lost our slide. So let's select it again and this should be changed to my account. There we go. So template sales deck. Awesome. So I think we should have all of these now. So let's see, name of the project. So that's coming in from OpenAI. Very good. Company name, that comes in from our original submission. There we go. Image placeholder, we are going to leave that alone for now because if we inject the URL here, it's just going to inject a string into our slides, but we actually need an image. So for that, we need to do an extra step. So we'll get there in a second. So goal number 1 is going to be coming from our goals array. So we're going to select the goals. So what we need to do here is because we need to select the first goal from this array, we are going to make use of the get function. So get, and then we inject the goal, and then the number is going to be 1. There we go. So we can copy that and goal 2 and goal 3. So here we will say, give me the second value from that array. And here I'm going to say, give me the third value from the array. Very good. And now we're going to do the same thing for the bullet. So bullet, remember, is the project phases. So bullet 1 title and bullet 1. So the reason I have it separately this is because this is bolded and this is not. So you can control the formatting of your slides through this as well. So for the bullet number 1 title, we'll go to the titles array and we'll just use the get function again and titles and then the first value. And we'll keep going like that. So this is going to be the second. Oh, this is actually the bullet. So let me skip over. So bullet 2 title, second one, bullet 3 title, and then bullet 4 title. Here we go. And now we need the actual bullet, which is the right part of the bullet point. So that is going to come from the descriptions array. So again, the get function, take the description and 1, and then we will copy that over 2, 3, and 4. Very good. And then finally, the last thing we need is the pricing information. So for the pricing information, we go back to the original submission because I'm dictating the pricing myself. So option 1 value and then option 2, which was $2,000, and then finally option 3. There we go. And I think I should inject the $sign in front of these. There we go. Very good. And then finally, it asked me, where do you want to save this? So for now, I am just going to use the high level, my Google Drive, and okay. Very good. Okay, so now we are ready to take it for a spin, at least the first part of the deck creation, and then we have to go back and make some changes to it, but let's see how far we can get. So again, run once and back to that form and fill out, click on edit. This time I don't need to make any changes, so I'm just going to submit it as is, and then back to make. So this came in, OpenAI is going through, JSON was parsed, and now we are getting our slide deck getting created. Very good. So seems like it went through, and what I'm going to do is so it gave us a presentation ID for the presentation that it just created for us, and I'm going to copy this presentation ID, and I'm going to duplicate this this sales deck template. And all we need to do is we need to replace the ID of the presentation here in the URL. So I paste it here, and let's see what we get. So it seems like we got almost all of it. So we got Course Automator as the project name of the company. About Us obviously stays the same. There's no variable here. And let's look at the goals. So automate course creation and publishing, develop a student portal, ensure seamless integration and user experience. Amazing. I didn't even give it the third one, but it just created it. And then for the phases, we got discovery, identify requirements, implementation, testing, conduct thorough testing, support maintenance, provide ongoing support. Perfect. Pretty good as well. These are the inputs I gave it. And if I give it better inputs and better direction, is going to generate a better outcome as well. And then finally, the last variable that we have is on the last page, which is the price, $1,000, $2,000, and $3,000. Very good. So for some reason, it did not give us the name of the project here. So I'm just going to manually add it for now, Course Automator. These were supposed to be name of the company and the name of the project, but all good. So what we need to do now is a couple of things. First thing is that we haven't done anything with the image. So we need to add the company logo here. And the second thing is we need to delete one of these because I think I selected Coca-Cola. So we need to delete the Pepsi slide. Okay, so let's go back and work on those things. So what we need to do, the first one is easy. We are going to add one more module here, which is the Google Slides module. And then here, there's an option to upload an image to a presentation. So click on upload an image. So same thing, same account. And the presentation ID this time is going to be by mapping instead of by dropdown because we won't know the presentation ID ahead of time. So I'm going to click on by mapping. And the ID is going to come in from the previous step where we got our presentation created. So we'll select the presentation ID and then select the method. So we'll say, upload an image by replacing the text tag. And the tag is, I believe, image placeholder. So let's just copy it. And this time it doesn't require the curly braces. And then for the URL, it's going to come in all the way from the original submission, the company logo. There we go. And click on OK. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run this module, and the logo is going to be the URL here. Just copy that again, copy image address back here, and the presentation ID is this thing over here. There we go. And paste that. Okay. So seems like that went through, and let's go check it out on page number 1, and voila, we got our logo injected on the slide. So this way you can do any number of images. If you have, what you can also do is if you have your slides, template slides created in a way where you have like big images on the left or like other full page images, you can use Unsplash to search for images based on a query and inject those here as well. So pretty handy and pretty cool. Okay, and then the last thing now left is to delete one of these slides. So let's go back here. And as you might have expected, there's also a delete a slide module. So if you click on Google Slides again, there's add or delete a slide. So since we added both the slides in our template, we can do the reverse approach where we delete the slide that we don't need. But of course, we'll have to do a filter here to decide which slide is being deleted. So let's click on add or delete a slide. And same thing, it's going to be delete a slide and the slide ID. So we need the presentation ID and the slide object ID. Okay. So for this, what we need to do actually, so there's another step before we can do that. First, we need to get the presentation that we created back because we need the IDs of each slide so that we can decide which one to delete. Because if you look at the output of this one, we don't get all the slides back. We just get the presentation ID. And in this one also, we just get that, okay, this happened, that's it. But we need all the slides so that we can have the slide ID to be provided here to decide which one has to be deleted. So we'll add one more slide here, add a module, or not a slide, a module, Google Slides, and this will be get a presentation. And here it's going to be my drive, and then we are going to map it back to the presentation ID that was originally created. Okay, so now if I run this and I enter the presentation ID, you will see what we get. We get all the slides back. So we get slide number 5, slide number 6, all of the slides back with their object IDs. So notice in our slide deck, we know that slide number 5 is Coca-Cola and slide number 6 is Pepsi. So what we can do is we can decide, are we deleting slide number 5 or slide number 6? We cannot rely on the object ID because these change based on every time a new slide is created. But we can rely on the position and get the object ID that way. What we are going to do is in here for the, so as always, let me save this, save anyway, and refresh. And now if I go here, let's see what we can, no, not that. So it should be delete a slide, and the object ID needs to come from the slides here. And what we can do is we can use again the array thing to get the object ID. But I think before that we'll have to, no, actually I think we should be fine. So let's try it. But we do need to decide if you're deleting slide number 5 or slide number 6. And for that we do need to filter. So let's add a filter here, or actually we can add a router. So back here, and I'm going to add a router. And the first one is going to be set up a filter when the, so we're going all the way back to the recommended approach, and we need to look for where I said Coca-Cola. So what kind of implementation approach is recommended? So this one, if this equals to Coca-Cola, we'll keep Coca-Cola or delete Pepsi. Either way, it's fine. So click OK. And in here on the presentation ID, we get the presentation ID back from here. All of them are the same, so it doesn't matter. And then the slide object ID in case of Coca-Cola is going to be for slide number 6. So we can go here and say get, and from the slides, we will get slide number 6. And what we are after is the object ID, and enter. Okay. So we cannot run this on its own, I don't believe, because we will not have the slides array here. So let's cancel that. So let's just complete this, and we are going to run through all of it from top to bottom. So we're going to add one more router, and this one is going to be set up a filter when the condition is Pepsi. So the kind of implementation is equal to Pepsi. Okay, so we'll say keep Pepsi. Okay, and in the module we'll say Google Slide, delete a slide. So same setup here. We are going to delete. I could have just copied it also, but that's fine. Enter manually. Presentation ID comes from the previous step, and the slide object ID. So this time I want to delete slide number 5. So we will do the get slides, and I want 5.object ID. There we go. Okay. And what we're going to do is we are also going to add one more thing here where we are going to save a variable, set a variable, and here I'm going to say the presentation ID, and that's going to come in handy for the next step, which is to create the PDF. And the variable value is going to be presentation ID. I'm going to copy that and copy module, paste module, because if it goes in this route, we also want to do that. There we go, on line, and this one will come from this guy. Okay, perfect. So let's save this and let's run it once more and see how far we get. So I'm going to close this one and go back to the original form, edit, and it's still Coca-Cola, submit, and back to make, and see how far we get. So presentation being created, image being uploaded, and it went to the Coca-Cola route, and we got the, this time we got the name as well. So let's copy this and again duplicate it, So seems like it deleted the Pepsi slide. It gave me the pricing, but it struggled this time with the actual goals. So I'm not sure what happened there. There might be some mismatch with the stuff that was sent in to create a presentation. Values. Oh, for some reason it did not get the other values. Let's see here. Goals, phases, titles, descriptions. So for some reason it did not map those. I'm not sure what happened there, but the deleting worked. So that's great. And then after this, the only thing that's left to do is once it goes through, so we are going to add one more route. So this route will always be executed because it is not going to be a filtered route. So let me align this. And here what we need to do is we need to make an HTTP call to get the PDF for the slide that was just created. So what we need to do here is if you have a Google Workspace paid account, you can call the Google Drive module. So if you go here, there's an option to do the Google Drive. You can do the Google Drive module, so you can download a file and you can do other stuff. But for this, you need the paid Google Workspace account. I don't have one. So what I do is I use the HTTP module. So I'm going to go to HTTP. And here I am going to just make a simple request, make a request. And this request is going to go to Google API with the presentation ID, and it's going to download my file, which I can then provide to Dropbox or something like that. So let's just quickly run through this as well. I need to go back to Postman to get my Google credentials. So I'll go to YouTube Captions. So this part is a bit involved. So I'm not going to walk through the details of this, but essentially what's happening here is that I'm authorizing my Google account so that it can give me a token that I can use to download the file using the Google Drive API. So I'm going to say get new access token. So it takes me to my Google authentication page. It's going to scare me that this is not safe, but I will continue anyway. Continue, open Postman, and it's going to come back with an access token as well as a refresh token. So I'm going to grab the access token. So here is the access token that I need. And before I make the call in Postman, I'm just going to make one call here, which is one of these. Yeah, there we go. So here I'm going to replace. So this is basically, it asked me for the presentation ID and then the value of my access token so that I can get the PDF back. So I'm going to paste the token that I just got. And for authorization, that's enough. And for the presentation ID, it's going to be the one that we just created. We did not get the text for some reason. There we go. And enter the presentation ID and let's send and see if it's working. So there we go. So I think this is a PDF and of course I can download it from here, but we want to do it in Make. So at least the call is working. So now we can take all of this setup and copy this URL, go back to Make. And in here, I'm going to enter the URL and replace the presentation ID with the presentation ID from here. And it's just going to be a get call. The authorization is going to be simple. And of course, I need to add a step in my flow to get the access token every time. But I'm not going to do that here for this video. It's going to get too long. So let's just copy this value, paste it here. And that's pretty much it. So let's hit OK and run this module. And it's going to ask me for the presentation ID, which again, we can grab from here, paste it, hit OK, and it seems like we got our PDF back. So now what we can do is we can upload that to Dropbox, upload a file, and I will use my AI slides folder. There we go. File name, I can take the same one as we created for Google Slides. So here we go, the title .pdf. And then the data is the one that is coming back from the HTTP call. So here we go. So here's the data. And last but not the least, we need to make this file shareable. So go back to Dropbox and we're going to update the share link. So the path is going to be the one that comes back from Dropbox. So path lower is fine. And then we will say viewer access. And that's it. Hit OK. And then finally, I am going to send a Slack message to close the loop and say create a message, which is here, and select from list. Channel type is going to be private, and channel name is going to be Scratchpad. There we go. And text is going to be your slide deck is ready for review. And I am going to take the URL that comes back from Dropbox. And here I can obviously give it the Google Slides URL as well if I want to go and like modify, or if I just want to get the PDF in my inbox, I can just use this. So this is optional. You can do both. It's up to you. But for the sake of this testing, let's hit OK and hit save. So now what will happen is, so it's gotten pretty big, but it'll go to one of these routes. It will set the variable. Actually, I realized we didn't even have to set the variable because the variable is available from one of these, but it's fine. But for some other things, sometimes you do need to set the variable because that context is lost by the time you get here. But essentially what will happen is it'll go through all of these, it'll go to one of them, and then it will go to this route to wrap up the flow and send us a Slack message. So let's run it one more time. Go back to our original fill out form, hit edit and submit. And oh, did I not run it? Let me hit it once. Oh, what's happening? Let me refresh. Okay, that's a red okay. That doesn't look okay. Seems like it's tired of us testing it so much. Okay, there we go. So let's run it. And it says you have existing data. Yeah, please go ahead and use the existing data. So it's going boom. So it went to the Coca-Cola route, downloaded the file. And now in my Slack, I should have a message that says your slide deck is ready for review. And I have a link. So let's click on that and see what we get. And there we go. We got the name. Again, I missed the name of the project. That's weird. I'll have to look into that. It's an empty slide deck. That's weird. Got the Coca-Cola and got the pricing. Okay, so something is going on with how I'm mapping my values. And I think it is something to do with how the JSON is structured. So I'll check that out. But hopefully it gives you an idea of how to go with the flow from start to end and how to create a slide deck using Google Slides and OpenAI. So let's go back here. Okay, yeah, so we basically took our template deck, we inserted the variables, we did the images, we did the deleting of the slide, and then we generated the PDF using the Dropbox. So all in all, this whole flow is there, except for the one error that I'm getting, which I will review. And I will also share, happy to share this blueprint with you if you want to try it out on your own. But as always, if you liked the video and found it to be helpful, do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I will see you next time. Take care.